So you just finished One Bite at a Time. You graduated from the program, and so I just wanted to get on here and just give people who are hesitant to join the program or want to learn more about the program or just want to see kind of what it's about, just for you to be able to like share your experience and why you joined the program. So it's just great to have you. So I really appreciate you coming on. So let me ask you, what made you decide to join One Bite at a Time?
The food crazies.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was always thinking about food, obsessed with what I was going to eat next, obsessed with my weight. Um, just it caused a lot of unnecessary stress, so I didn't have like a healthy relationship with eating and food.
Yeah.
Instead of enjoying the experience, even though I called myself a foodie, it was stressful.
Yeah. So it was stressful because you were thinking about what you were eating or what, that you were going to gain weight or what was going through your mind?
Yeah, both of those things. And yeah, like how much I was going to weigh if I ate this or that. And then I would, instead of being mindful of it, I would binge and turn to food, for emotional support. And it was just a never ending cycle of ups and downs in my weight and trying different diets and having success here and there, but not lasting success.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like you start a diet and you're excited about it in the beginning, and then eventually you stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the success that you had, if you had it, right, on a specific diet comes back, right? Usually you end up gaining more weight than whatever you lost or
Yeah.
wherever you started initially.
Mm-hmm. And
Now,
that
how
way
many
of eating
diets have you
wasn't like realistic to keep doing long term.
done? Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's so unrealistic to live a life on a diet.
Mm-hmm.
So how many diets like have you done or have you tried?
I don't know if I've ever counted. There's like keto, raw. What was that beach one?
The South Beach diet?
South Beach.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
Vegan, vegetarian, just a variety. Trying
yeah,
to create my own and
yeah. Did you used to like ever count your calories or track your calories or anything like that at all?
yeah. And
Yeah,
that's so time consuming and ah, that
yeah,
was not productive.
right, right. And like, when I did that, I used to think that like, oh, okay, if I just like stay in my lane and only eat, this many calories, then I'll be fine. But then I was like choosing foods that weren't really like going to nourish me just because I'm like, well, I really want that. So but I can have that. And so then I ended up like not like really eating foods that made me feel good, even though I might have stuck, within the calorie intake amount
Mhm.
that was designated for me. And yet, like, even though I was losing weight, like I wasn't feeling good,
Yeah.
because of that. I don't know if you can relate to that or had a similar experience with dieting.
Yeah. It wasn't a very balanced lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. So when you talk about like just this, this kind of like ups and downs where you felt like it wasn't like stable, um, how did that feel to be living in that kind of place in your life?
Well, I imagine like my cortisol levels or and hormones were not in balance. And I wasn't able to fully enjoy whatever moment I was in because my head would be somewhere else.
Yeah,
Even if I was enjoying a meal, it was like, I want more. Can I really have more? And just like this mental struggle of food dynamics.
yeah. So besides like that affecting your weight, like how else was it affecting you?
Um, it was like a coping method.
Mm.
So emotionally, it definitely helped. And um,
But like what was happening with you like inside when you were, having these, ups and downs, these ebbs and flows where you felt like you just couldn't like get a handle on the food crazies?
oh,
Like what was
I
that
was
doing to you?
ashamed of myself that I didn't
Okay.
have the willpower, to be in control of this part of my life. Um, and then ashamed once I would binge or overeat. And it was
Mhm.
just all these emotions that weren't worth it in the end.
Yeah. So what made one bite at a time so different? Like first of all, did you think going into the program that you would actually like no longer struggle with this?
Well, I was definitely hoping for that,
Yeah.
because that's what it kind of promises, but
Yes.
I didn't have high expectations because of my previous experiences. So I just tried to go into it with an open mind and okay, I'm just gonna do what what you want me to do and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Right, right. Yes. So, what is so different about, my program compared to other things that you've tried?
Oh, it just like kind of rewired my brain. Um, so not only do I have a new relationship with food and the way I eat is different, the way I look at food is different, the way I think about food is different. Um, but it's like creating a new relationship with yourself. And then
Mhm.
that trickles into the relationships with other people. So it just like it wasn't just my eating that changed. There's a lot of other things that changed. And because of like the step by step, week by week progress, building on each other, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I did that and now I can move on and that's over. It was like, no, this continues and this builds on what I just learned and carries me through in a way where it keeps going after the program.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. So, um, how long has it been since you finished?
Over a month, maybe two.
Oh, maybe 2 months. Okay. So, yeah, like what's the difference now that you're done?
Um, I don't feel crazy anymore.
Yeah.
And even if I have a moment where I overeat, it doesn't have the same effect on me. And it's never as bad as it used to be. And I have not binged since I started the program on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I never thought that day would come.
Yeah.
And even
Um,
if something were to happen and I would binge on something, like I wouldn't have the same guilt about it because I know how to handle it now.
yeah.
I have all the tools I need to um what's the word I'm thinking of? Like realign, get back on
Mhm.
track
Yeah.
quickly.
So like speaking of the tools, did you have any that were like your favorites, your go-to, or you were like, wow, this one is really working for me?
Well, the whole method of alive eating for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
also I don't practice every part of it anymore because it's not necessary anymore.
That's
I
exciting.
yeah, I know that if I get off track, I can just put some of those back in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I wanted to make sure I mentioned some certain things. Well, one thing I still do daily is the affirmations.
Mhm.
I do that every morning. Except when I was sick, I forgot to do it then. Learning about how we view our identity and how we can change that, that was amazing.
Yeah, your identity, you chose that you're a natural leader. That was
Yeah.
your identity. Yeah,
Mhm. And that's one of my affirmations that I remind myself every day. So
yeah,
it helps me
yeah.
stay on
Now,
track.
in the beginning, when you start off with some of these affirmations, some of them, sometimes, we believe the affirmation and sometimes we don't, right? It's an affirmation that we're like manifesting and we're working, towards becoming. But for this one, your identity of being a natural eater, initially, I remember you were like, but now, like, do you truly like feel like this is who you are now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And back to those affirmations, I used to not like hearing my voice, but now I have no problem with that. That's why coming on to do this interview didn't stress me out or make me nervous like I would have been before.
Yes.
So it's definitely an increased confidence
Yeah.
in not just with food, but with life.
With life, with yourself, and yeah. So what is it that made you become comfortable, hearing yourself and hearing your affirmations?
I think it's just the repetition, like committing to doing that every day and learning how to create new habits.
Yeah.
That was instrumental too, because before it would seem like a daunting task, but because of the book we read and the strategies
Mhm.
you teach, like now I know how I can add any new habit I want to add.
Mhm. And it's like not like you said, it's not just about eating. It's,
Hmm.
it's the whole picture, right? It's working on all the different things that are going on in your life because when we're emotional, if it has a negative emotion that we're attaching to and we're defining it as this is a bad thing, then that creates these emotions. And then, when we believe what we're thinking and what we're feeling, then that leads to an action. And that action is typically eating, right? For those that use food as a coping mechanism. So when you talked about rewiring your brain and being able to like work on your emotions, the need for, overeating, emotional eating or binge eating isn't as strong.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any other particular tools throughout the program that were helpful for you?
Yep. The stress management and like the checklist to go through before you eat.
Yeah. Yes.
And just being more aware of the language I'm using when I'm thinking and talking. And that makes you aware of everybody else too.
And how they talk.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes. And then what's so brilliant about that is when you become so attuned to yourself and you have this incredible self-awareness on what is driving you and what your belief system and what your map of reality is about yourself. Now you're able to see it differently. And then when you hear other people's kind of map of reality and how they are perceiving things, whether it's how they perceive themselves or how they are perceiving other people, like for you to be able to have like that new intelligence,
Mhm.
um, gives like so much compassion, right, for
Yeah,
them.
that's what
Like
I was
you're
just
not
gonna
as like,
say.
yeah, you're not as judgmental, towards them. You're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. I know why they're talking this way or they're thinking this way. Yeah,
Yep, when we learned about that's another thing I loved is the different webinars that you had and the different things I learned on there, like learning about parts.
yes, yes, yeah. Do you still put that into practice too?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, what about how did you feel about just the accountability? Some people are like, when it comes to
Oh,
accountability.
yes, that was definitely something to adjust to. But once I got to know people. I felt more comfortable, and then it just became a joy to connect and share. Um,
So you're referring to the Pocket Squad?
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't
I
you
got
talk
more
about kind of
comfortable
what that
seeing
is?
myself. I got more comfortable seeing myself on video, hearing myself, interacting with people and giving feedback, um, and just sharing my own revelations. It was it was, I think, really integral to the whole thing. Where
Yeah.
other diets and things I've tried have kind of just been on my own. I might have had a
Mhm.
friend start with me and usually not last. Or I've just tried to do it on my own and life got in the way. Well, that was my excuse.
You're right. Well, it's hard to do things on your own. It is. I mean, it's hard to just constantly be the one that's only motivating yourself. And, there's been a lot of research, on, just the audience effect. The audience effect is when you have an audience, you're more likely to push yourself to do something. That's why people do better when they go to the gym. If
Mhm,
they're looking to get in shape, they do better going to the gym than if they try to do it by themselves in their home, using a workout, YouTube video or something. Because when you're with other people that are doing it, not only does it like boost your energy, and it's so encouraging to be around like-minded individuals who also value the same goals, right? It motivates you, it pumps you up, but there is a little bit of competition in all of us. Like we're kind of wired that way. People say like, "Oh, I hate competing. I don't like to compete." But we're wired to have a little bit of that, in us because
mhm.
that's what pushes us, to be better. So when you have the Pocket Squad, right? You're surrounded by other people that like are valuing the same thing. They're like, I'm sick and tired of this struggle. I don't like how this feels. I want to feel good about myself. I want to have confidence again. I don't want to be obsessed, over this. And I want to just feel successful. And so when they
Yep.
hear you like sharing, all your wins, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want a dose of that, right? That pumps you up, pumps the other people in the group up to be like, okay, you know what? She can do this. And I remember last week she was struggling, and now look at her. Like,
Mhm.
I can do this. So it is powerful. It's so much more effective, when you're making a change with people who want that same change rather than you completely doing it all on your own.
Yep. Like I never would have thought that I would have gotten to my lowest weight right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
That
let's
was
talk
like
about that.
incredible.
That was amazing, right? And what's so cool is I remember one of the other people in the group, she did the same thing. She lost weight when she was on a cruise, on a vacation. And the funny thing is, cruises is where like typically you eat more than any other place when you go on vacation, because
Mhm.
a lot of times they're like, what else are we gonna do? We're just gonna eat. You have this buffet and you just keep
And
eating and
drink.
drinking, and yeah. So it's kind of cool how you both had like that similar experience around the same time. But yeah, but Thanksgiving is the time where people traditionally eat the most and gain, a lot of weight. Not even just the day of Thanksgiving, but sometimes, weeks before, because everybody's doing Thanksgiving dinners at other houses, and you can't fit it all in one day. And but yet you lost weight. Talk
Mhm.
about
I was
that.
just watching everybody else like stuff their face, and I didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I was content with what I chose to eat and with the company, and I wasn't obsessed over the food.
Yeah. And it wasn't like you were like, oh, I can't do this. I better be good at this. Like, right. You weren't
Yes.
trying to talk yourself into being successful or talk yourself out of overeating. It just happened naturally for you.
Yeah. It was totally natural.
Yeah. And that's like the best part, right? Is that um the tools and the techniques and the methods in the program like get you to that place naturally. It's doesn't feel forced. It's not awkward. there is no, this is too difficult to do. It's manageable. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing about the Pocket Squad, like I have a new friend, probably for life,
Mhm.
that I never would have had I not been part of this.
Yeah. Right. The friendships.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, did you have anything that you felt like you had maybe like a major aha moment during the program at any point?
Well,
Like
just
where
learning
something
the
clicked?
alive eating,
Okay.
because some of those things I had heard about or tried in my own way, but it was like following it in a complete way.
Yeah.
I just totally did, and I just got goosebumps talking about it. Yeah, and then I mean, it was challenging at first, but just like you could stick to it for a week, and then it became easier and easier, and now I just do it.
What was challenging about it in the beginning?
Um, Staying focused,
Mm.
not getting distracted. But I mean, you gave us the tools to kind of prevent a lot of that too.
Right,
So
right.
that's what made it easier just from a week.
Yes,
I can't
yes,
complain too much.
yeah. You had mentioned before that you're at the lowest weight. And so when you came into the program, you'll have to remind me because I don't remember your goal, I think, but correct me if I'm wrong. You had a specific weight goal, and I think you surpassed that, right? That you got
I
lower.
got I got within half a pound of it,
Okay, half a
but
pound of
then
it.
I wasn't, and I don't even care about that number anymore because like I feel good, things fit good.
That's the best part is that you're like,
Uh,
I don't even care really honestly, like what the scale says anymore. Yeah.
and I'm not weighing myself every day like I used to, or multiple times a day.
I just took this deep breath because I'm like, yeah, like I know people, come to One Bite at a time because they're looking to lose weight. I get that. I understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like having added weight, can cause a lot of challenges, in someone's life and not especially if there's significant weight, it has a lot of health effects that can be damaging long term, right? And then there's the emotional aspect. If you don't feel good, right, that really affects your self-esteem and your confidence, and that trickles into every part of your life. But I think that what clients are getting is a greater gift than just losing weight.
Yep. That's why I love the name of your company. It really is a gifted vault of all these tools and techniques and people.
Yeah, yes, yes. Wow. Well, I'm just so thankful that you were open to it, and that I mean, you really had such an open mind to be like, you know what, I'm coming in. Like you were such a very dedicated student. You're like, I'm going to do the conditioning exercises every single week. And then you also were really good with the accountability, like coming onto the Pocket Squad, and you talked about your conditioning exercises and the insights, or what you learned, and like you really truly just dove in like 110% into the program. If someone went into the program and did half of, let's say, that kind of dedication, do you still think that they would benefit from it? Like what's
Oh,
your
yeah.
take on it? Okay.
I mean, even if you just do a week, that first week is
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah. Just learning the alive eating method, which is what
Yeah.
what you learn in the first week. Just that alone. Yes. Yeah.
But
And
to
then
maintain, you definitely need to stick with more than that week.
yeah, right.
Make it last.
Because anytime something is new, it's exciting. And our brains are like, oh my gosh, like this is something different. And so there's a lot of dopamine, right? That happens, right? When we are excited about something and we see that this is working and we're getting that positive reinforcement. But, when the novelty, right, kind of starts wearing off, people realize like it's not enough to sustain you, for the rest of your life. Like the Alive eating method is the foundation, and that is a big piece of the puzzle, right, so to speak, that you have to have. But without going through the other conditioning exercises that follow, it's not going to cement that change in for life.
Yeah. And you definitely like need to be coachable.
Mm.
And there's a level of vulnerability that, I didn't have a problem being in that, but I was always like, oh, that's me being vulnerable, before. Now I see it as my superpower. So
Yes, yes. When we're vulnerable, not only is it so healing because we're saying like this is okay. It is okay, to feel this way, or it is okay to be upset, or it's okay to feel, discouraged. But by being vulnerable, you're giving permission to other people to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable is such a necessary step, to being a natural eater. It's when we're uncomfortable being vulnerable, even if it's just being uncomfortable being vulnerable with yourself. Like you can be uncomfortable, all by yourself dealing with an emotion, right?
Mhm.
Because we have that like that inner critic, right? That's like, oh, you shouldn't be feeling this way. What's wrong with you? Come on, get your act together, right? And it's like, toughen up, buttercup. And so it's like if you can't get comfortable with your own emotions and your own vulnerability to say, you know what, hold on a second, like let me face these emotions, let me work through these emotions, then it drives up like those cravings and that desire to want to numb those emotions with food. So being vulnerable is such an important piece, that's involved in the practice of becoming a natural eater. And you did that so beautifully. I know it was hard for you in the beginning. You felt really shy, but you definitely got comfortable with it. And every time someone is vulnerable in the group and others hear it, they're like, okay, it's safe. I can be vulnerable too. And it's restorative. And it's like that burden is just kind of lifted when you can like release and let that go.
Mhm. Yeah. I noticed that when I would share something, other people would start sharing more and it would just feed off of each other.
Yeah. And it's also
I love
reassuring when
how,
someone's like, oh yeah, that's me too. I get you. Like, oh, I understand where you're coming from. You're like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah, right. Like you don't feel like there's something wrong with you when others can validate your experience. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
you were going to say something.
I love how like your lessons and the coaching you provided, and this learning about how the brain works. Like, so now when I have a negative thought, it doesn't last long because I know what to do with it. And then I can also, without people even realizing it, help them with
Yeah,
their negative thoughts and
yeah,
the way they speak about something. And then you see them shift and
yeah.
it's
You
beautiful.
know, I think it's, when we have these negative thoughts, I know for me, I've been taught from society and just people that I know that are in my life, because they've been taught the same thing, is when you have a negative thought, you're supposed to just like flick it off, like, oh, don't think that, or kind of minimize, the negative thought and just be like, oh, it's no big deal, or invalidate it, like, not really pay attention and to look at like, okay, hold on a second, let's take a look at that negative thought, and let's work with that part, and having such a beautiful relationship, with these parts, that come from our amygdala, and they're there for a reason. Those thoughts are there for a reason, and we can learn a lot, from those thoughts, and we can find a lot of healing when we're approaching it with such compassion and such love, and not judging and rejecting, the thoughts, all thoughts, right? Happy ones, negative ones, ones that we're maybe ashamed to have, like that we can just totally accept it and have a relationship with all of those parts of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can be such a game changer.
Yeah, this is definitely a more than a game changer, a life changer.
Yeah, life changer. Yeah. So what would you say, to someone who is watching this, who's maybe thinking, yeah, 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 like this sounds too good to be true. I've been struggling with my eating my whole life and I've tried everything. Like, what would you, if you could talk to them, what would you say to them?
Well, that's what I used to think too. But if you're willing to let go of that and come in being open-minded and vulnerable and knowing that there's a very high chance, it's almost guaranteed that what you will get out of this will work.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I could say trust me, but people that don't know me aren't going to necessarily trust me, but I'm being like genuine and this this is it.
yeah.
This is the last one you're going to do.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So if you, when you finish the program, if you could look at yourself in the mirror, like maybe just imagining that you're looking at yourself in the mirror right now instead of at me, um, what would you say to yourself with where you're at now?
Well, it reminds me of one of the exercises we did in the beginning, and what I had the statement I had come up with was well done.
Um,
Might have been longer than that, but that's what I'm remembering now. Like I just see myself going, well done, and like high five.
yeah, let's do that. Ready? Well done. High five. Yeah. Oh, such a great feeling to have to like actually like feel like I did it. I actually like I truly did it. Yeah. And just what this means for the rest of your life. I mean, you're young, which is so great that you like fixed this now, rather than, waiting 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now and seeing the damage, that overeating, binge eating, would have caused, as you aged. And so now you have so much, in front of you where you can put this struggle behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
that old me is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just, it really fills me with so much joy, that I've been a part of your journey. But you did the work. I just gave you the tools and you did the work and you were so willing. And this is why you have these results. Um, yeah, it's
Oh, one
fantastic.
thing I do want to um really bring to light is how my metabolism changed.
Mm,
That
yes.
was definitely something I wasn't even thinking about until I was like, wait a second. Normally, this would not result in me maintaining my weight. And here I am,
Yep.
able to eat that and not gain weight. It was incredible.
Yeah. That's the other gift, right? That
Mhm.
I know we talked about. I don't know if it was, I say we, I don't know if it was you and me or someone else in the group that mentioned that too, was that, when we stop, going in starvation mode, right? So one minute we're eating all this food and then we're like, oh my gosh, no more. I've got to go on a diet. And then we like swing the pendulum to the other side and we go to the other extreme and we're like, cut this out, restrict this, and, reduce calories. And then the body's like, oh no, what happened? We were eating all this food and now we're not. So the body thinks there's like a famine and it thinks it's like going in starvation mode. And so it holds on, to the fat because it thinks it's going to need it because you're not consuming the amount of calories that your body was used to you consuming. And then what happens is it's like after, you can't stand, living like that and restricting your food all the time, then the pendulum swings the other side again. And you're just like, I'm done with this diet, screw this, right? And now you're like, I'm gonna have this and I'm gonna have that. And then you go overboard. And then you do that for a while until you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And then you go back to this again. And so the body's metabolism is so unstable. But when you stop both of these places, being in these places, and you are a natural eater, where you're eating the way you were born and designed, to eat, then your metabolism kicks in and it's healthy and it's working the way it was designed to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just so grateful for all the work you put into creating this program because it was all the struggles you had that put it all
Yeah,
together. It's not an easy thing to do, to reflect back and really see what works and
yeah,
what can help other people.
yeah. I know. I've had quite a journey myself. I've tried so many things over the years. I mean, within the last 7 years specifically, yeah, I've been on so many diets. I've been, part of lots of different um, coaching programs as a group, one-on-one coaches, the pre-recorded ones, all the different programs that are out there where you can buy it and you just watch a bunch of recorded videos. And I mean, I've tried so many different things, and it was so frustrating for me. I felt like every time I would sign up for something, I would get so excited thinking, okay, this is it. Like, this is my answer. And then in the beginning, I would be so excited. I'm like, oh my God, it's working, And then it would like start to not work. And then it would just kind of fizzle down. And then I'm like, wait a minute here. And then I would go, the other way. I'm like, wait, I'm gaining weight now. I'm supposed to have control and I'm losing, control. And it was very frustrating. It was really, really disheartening to feel like, why am I always failing, at this? And it wasn't that all of those other programs or methods, are a failure. It just didn't work for me. Like I was looking for something that was permanent. I was looking for something that I could actually maintain and that it would work and that I can like do for the rest of my life. And I couldn't find anything out there that was effective for me. And so I just I hit rock bottom at one point, and that was like I have to figure this out. And so it just took a lot of over the years looking at what did work, what I did like, what I didn't like, and doing all the different research and learning a lot about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and understanding NLP and understanding the brain more. I was able to just put all those pieces, the puzzle together to be like, this is what I need. And seeing that not only was it so effective for me, but it is just helping so many other people. I had no idea that it would evolve, to this is others seeing the change in me, noticing it, and like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's the change? What program are you on now? It's like, I'm actually my own program. Um, it just means so much to see that like I can help other people who've gone through the struggle and to get them out of that struggle.
Yeah, I appreciate the determination to succeed
Yeah.
with that. And also what you're doing outside of One Bite at a Time with Gifted Vault and all the things I've been learning in addition to what I took out of, One Bite at a Time with food. Now I'm improving other areas of my life because of Gifted Vault.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's exciting. That's exciting. And more is to come. More is to come. I know you've been asking for the parenting program. And eventually we'll get there. But yes, there's lots of good things in store that we're working on.
Mhm. If
Well,
only you
I
had
appreciate
clones
you.
of you.
What was that?
If only you had clones of you to make it all
Yes,
happen.
I know.
There's no one like you,
I
Doris.
but hey, that's why I taught time management. Because I was like, I have to get better at time management. Like, I have so much I'm trying to do, and I don't have enough time. And I was like, wait, no, it's not that I don't have enough time. It's I'm not managing my time as effectively as like I can be. A lot of what I do basically boils down to me trying to solve my own problem. So all of the webinars, the classes that I teach, like it's me, reflecting on what I'm working on and then seeing like what works. For me, it's like, okay, now I'm going to share it. Now I'm going to like put that out there for others, that could use, some guidance and some encouragement in this area too.
That's why it's so effective.
Yeah. Yeah. But thank you. I mean, thank you so much for coming on here and spending the time, to talk about your experience in One Bite at a Time and Gifted Vault. And it's been such a joy working with you and coaching you, and I know we will continue, to see great things that are happening in your life and all the growth that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it for now.
Those of you watching, don't hesitate. Join now. It's the
Right
best
this
time to
second.
start.
Right this second. Wow. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.